Welcome to episode 3 in series 1, Healing Isn't Linear, and why that's not a bad thing.
Before we get into today's episode, we just want to say thank you. We launched this podcast on April 1st, 2025, and just a short time, we've had 80 downloads and 5 followers.
It may seem small, but it means a lot to us. We're showing up, and so are you. And we don't take that for granted.
Welcome back to Two Therapists Walk Into a Podcast. I'm Robin Green, LCSW, therapist in Arizona.
And I'm Stephanie Edsel, also an LCSW therapist here located in Utah. We're two therapists and longtime friends talking about what healing actually looks like without the buzzwords.
Today, we're getting into the expectation that progress should be linear. Like, once you start healing, things should just steadily improve with fewer bad days and more insight.
And the truth is, it doesn't really work that way. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because healing has a rhythm. It loops and unfolds. And we don't talk about that enough. So today we are.
Let's start by slowing down a little. If it feels okay, take a breath. Let your shoulders drop. Notice what's around you. What's supporting you. You don't need to feel anything in particular. Just notice whatever is here for you in this moment. You might tune into sound, light, or texture. Anything that helps you orient to now. No pressure to change anything. Just notice.
You don't need to be in a good place for this to matter. However you're arriving, it's enough. Let this just be a small pause in your day. So, Robin, I think most people come into this healing work, hoping for like this clear path forward. Maybe expecting to feel more regulated every week, and it makes sense. I mean, you start therapy or dig into some reflection, and there's this belief that if you're doing it, quote unquote, right, you'll feel better consistently.
Yeah. And then something hits. Maybe an old feeling, or you react in a way you thought you'd outgrown. And then it feels like you're back where you started. But you're not. You're just hitting a layer you didn't have access to before. I think that in itself is a really beautiful kind of growth.
I agree. You can come back to the same themes, the same pain points, but you're meeting them with more capacity. You just don't always feel that in the moment. And that's where a lot of doubt creeps in.
Right. And I think that's really where people spiral. I've heard things like, I should be past this, or why am I still doing this? And then that shame can kick in so fast. But your system isn't regressing. It's just kind of revisiting. It's checking in. Are we safe now? Are we good?
Correct. Remember, we're wired for survival, not linear growth. So, yeah, patterns will loop back, especially the ones that kept you safe. It's not dysfunction. It is repetition built around protection. That's how the nervous system works.
Yeah. And dissociation. It's a big one there. I'll have clients say, why am I still dissociating? And I'll say, do you realize you're noticing it? That awareness, that progress? It means your nervous system is starting to trust that maybe it doesn't have to totally disappear just to keep you safe. That's not backsliding. That's something shifting.
I absolutely agree. Just having some clients say the same things, and it's really easy to overlook the quiet progress. Things like recovering faster after a shutdown. That's huge. That's like a moment to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
Catching the self mid pattern and even being able to stop and back out, maybe choose a different thing. Name what's happening instead of just being in it. Even being able to tolerate discomfort a few seconds longer is meaningful, and this does add up over time.
Right. Yeah. Or even having a hard moment without that avalanche of shame afterward. That's healing too. It just doesn't get the same credit.
I agree. I always think of it as increasing tolerance for your own humanity. That's the work, and it's ongoing. It doesn't end when you, quote, figure it out. And that's something we don't give ourselves enough credit for.
Yeah. Sometimes I can describe it like emotional weather, There's storms, there's fog, there are clear days. And you don't blame yourself really for the weather changing. You just learn how to move through it without losing yourself. You dress differently, for different weather. I think healing can kind of be like that.
What a cool metaphor. I love that.
Thanks.
Well, it's just a helpful way to think about it, and when you
Sure.
can begin to expect that ebb and flow, it's not as alarming when it happens. You can meet it with a little more self awareness and maybe even a little less judgment.
Right. So if you're circling back to something familiar and it feels messy or heavy, it might just mean you're ready to experience it differently. Not because you failed, but because your system can hold more now.
And that is a gift. That is a gift. Trust us. So here's today's nervous system nugget. This is one of those truths that sounds simple, but shifts everything. Healing doesn't mean you stop reacting. It means you start recognizing when you do, and you learn how to meet yourself there. That shift, it matters, even if it's subtle.
If you're in a place where it feels like nothing's changing or it's all coming up again, it doesn't mean you're broken. It might mean you're ready for something deeper.
You're not starting over, you're just seeing it from a different vantage point. That shift in perspective is often the work.
If this episode gave you something to think about or a little breathing room, feel free to pass it along to someone else who might need that today.
As always, you can find us on social or drop us a message. And if you're not up for connecting right now, that's okay too. We're here if or when it makes sense to listen, support, or just be a calm voice.
And as always,
Healing isn't linear, and we're here for the ride.
us today. If something resonated, we'd love it if you shared the episode, left a review, or connected with us on social media. We're two therapists walk into a podcast on most platforms. You can listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not therapy, does not replace therapy, and does not establish a therapist-client relationship. If you're in crisis, please reach out to a qualified mental health professional or call 988 in the US. Robin Green is a licensed therapist in Arizona, and Stephanie Edsall is licensed in Utah. And this podcast is intended for a general audience.